In my hand, I have a ball.
I just love the game.
Well, I've never been a millionaire, but I've lived like one all my life.
Now, I made the right decision going to teaching because, you know, the old saying, you know, those that can do, those that can't teach, you know.
I'm not going to go to university. I'm not one for the books. I had no academic passion at all, so to speak. So I decided it was going to be golf.
The time that we're talking about now, the late 60s, the best golfers in the world were Nicholas Palmer and Player. But you had a lot of interaction with Lee Trevino. Seems like much more with him than with any of the others.
Yeah, I think it worked out that way. I mean, he, of course, in '71, where he won at Birkdale, I finished third. Mr. Loof finished second. He knocked that woman out on the last hole and got up and down and beat me out of it. But especially in the Open, Lee and I seemed to butt heads a lot. And then World Match Play Championships.
Tell us the stories. World Match Play, going off the first tee.
Well, that was the afternoon. It was a 36-hole finals, and I was 4 down, and you know, not with a lot of work to do. And we both hit our tee shots off the first, and we're going up that little rise to where those cross bunkers used to be. There were heathery things. And he is going 100 miles an hour as usual. His mouth never stopped, you know. And I was done with it. I said, Lee, this all was on camera actually. I said, Lee, I don't want to talk. Let's just play golf. He said, you don't have to talk, just listen. And that was, you know, that was typical of him. And what a match that turned out to be. I mean, I came out, but I shot 63 that afternoon and lost on the last green. I shot 29 the front nine at Wentworth, and I was one up, and every hole was won by birdie or eagle. I mean, it was unbelievable. And he ended up birdieing 18, and I lost it to that birdie, one down. But and of course he chipped in at the Open at Muirfield.
That was heartbreaking for you.
Yeah, it was, because I really felt that Open in '72 that I'd done everything I needed to do to be in position. But of course you know, you learn it's never over until it's over. He chipped in, I think, 5 times during that last 2 rounds, and I witnessed all of them, and maintained and stayed with him throughout. You know, got a little bit ahead, and it did. There's no doubt that in terms of majors, that sort of affected my confidence moving forward. I never thought that luck had anything to do with winning. You know, I just thought it was about perseverance and skill and just, you know, resolve, and you get it done. And these audacious shots that he kept on doing, you know, he sort of sculled one out of a bunker, bounced, bonked straight in the hole on that 16th there one day on the 3rd round, and then ultimately chipping in on the 71st hole. It just shocked me to a point where my reaction was, you know, that son of a gun, you're not going to beat me like that. And I took a rush at the putt. I believe I could have 2-putted all day long. And I just hit it that awkward distance past and missed the return, and that was the end of the story. So, you know, and that was the end of really my major career in terms of, I mean, I won tournaments, but majors I realised and recognised quite early on were the really only important ones.
Tony, the Ryder Cup has had a huge influence on you from the time that you first played in 1967 all the way through to when you captained the winning teams in the 80s. But we're at concession, so talk about 67 and 69 first.
Yeah, well, my first experience was in '67 at Houston, and I'd met most of the American counterparts, Johnny Pott, Gabe Brewer, guys like that were all in that team. Arnold, of course, and actually Jack wasn't. Jack in '67 was still not qualified to be in the Ryder Cup. The PGA of America had some crazy rule. You had to be a member for 6 or 8 years or something before you could play Ryder Cup, but they soon changed that. And Di Reese was our captain, and I enjoyed Di. Di was, I thought he was a great captain. He was full of vim, and he was, you know, really bubbly little guy, and he could play himself too. But it was very clear that America had the strongest team. I think in those days it's fair to say that, you know, as much as anything, our guys were in awe of the way things were done in America. And America, and you took a guy like Arnold, for example, who gave this impression that he was taking the world by the scruff of the neck and just, you know, he was gonna come out tops whatever happened, you know. And there was this sort of, I think it set a little bit of. In Britain, we weren't like that. We weren't quite that brash and confident and outgoing. You know, we did everything more quietly but then through '69, of course, was a pivotal year at Birkdale where the concession happened and Jack conceded the 2-foot putt on the last green for the tie.
How long was that putt?
2 foot. His words. Since we've built this wonderful place, we've been together on camera quite often about it. And his words, not mine, 22 to 24 inches is the number. We both agree on that. I mean, some guys, you know, say it was 3 or 4 feet. Well, it wasn't. It was this far, and I think I would have made it, but I'm glad I didn't have to. So that was a pivotal year Ryder Cup wise for us. You know, I think there were 25 or 6 matches and 18 of them went to the last green in that particular year. But the Jack's gesture was, you know, winning. I'd won the Open at Lytham in '69 2 months before. My manager, Mark McCormack, in his wisdom, I wanted to go and contemplate life, you know, and he got me back in America straight away. I was spent. And that was what should have been the best month of my life ended up being one of the worst. I missed 4 cuts in a row in America. He said, you've got to go back, play Westchester, it's the biggest first prize in golf. And I thought he had all the answers, and, you know, because he was handling all Arnold's stuff and Gary's stuff at the time. And, you know, I thought he was there as an advisor as well as a sort of manager, money maker.
The whole thing with Mark McCormack and IMG was a very disappointing part of your life.
Oh, it really was. I mean, I didn't realise until much later that it wasn't about him, it was about me. I mean, vice versa. You know, it wasn't about me, it was about him. He wanted me in Europe. I wanted to be in America. I should have been in America. When I won those 2 major championships, it was... there's no doubt I should have been in America, where I could have had a life suited myself. I was living in this sort of goldfish bowl in England, you know, where you're very everybody can get at you in England, and I was cutting ribbons at fetes and trying to be all things to all people during that period where I needed more obscurity, and I could have still supported the European tour, because the European tour hadn't really started at this point, and that's where they used me. John Jacobs got me going back to play in Italy and Sweden and Germany and all these new territories that they wanted to move golf into. I could have still done that and lived in America, and the bottom line was, by staying in Europe and trying to play in America, I neglected my game. You know, I couldn't maintain the hours of practice and the mindset that was required to stay on top. and inevitably it all sort of ended, you know, in that 72 was it at the Open, but by then I was already fed up of it, you know, flying backwards and forwards 6 times a year, trying to do this here and that there. It was just a nonsense, and it was in the days where it took a bit longer to get about than it does today.
Tony, would you say it was a fair comment to say that you were much more than just a champion golfer? But you mixed with celebrities, you mixed with royalty, you mixed with all the top businessmen, and you were one of them.
Yeah, there's no doubt at that time. I think you know, it was first golfing superstar anyway, and you know, it was quite surreal. You know, the lifestyle was magical. You know, whether it was world match plays or just 8 players and chauffeur cars here and there and suites at the Savoy in London, that sort of thing. It was, but I, as an individual, I had my feet firmly on the ground. I think, you know, I really never got carried away with all of that. Golf always kept you honest. You know, you honing your game and keeping your game. And if you get too arrogant at golf, it would pop you right back there as quick as, and you know only too well what I'm talking about. So you know, golf is a mirror of life in many ways, and it kept me, I kept my feet firmly on the ground, but my organisational abilities, where it came to tournaments and the discipline of not playing here and trying to do, getting pulled sideways by different people, and it took its toll.
I'm going to give you some names. I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind. Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah, great player, great friend, great guy. Our paths have crossed many times. They still see each other, and he's been a friend to me ever since we met. You know, we fished together. Astrid had a miscarriage 20 odd years ago when we were at Troon. His jet flew her down to London, whatever it took. Jack's always, I've always considered Jack and Barbara dear friends, and one of his captains now at Muirfield for the Memorial Tournament. I enjoy going there every year and seeing him, but a great champion and a great human being. He had it all figured out long before most of us did. He knew. I'll never forget when I won the Open, saying to him at the prize giving, I didn't think I could be that nervous and still play. He said, I know, isn't it great? You know, that told me that he was that way all the time. You know, he was...
Bobby Locke.
Bobby Locke. Oh, what an incredible... I just considered myself so blessed that I got to see him play and play with him. And still the greatest putter I ever saw. And I had this chat the other day with Paul Azinger, and he said he thought Tiger was. I said, hey, Tiger wasn't putting on greens like Bobby Locke used to have to putt on. And an amazing mind, and you know, they couldn't stop him. They tried. They had to ban him to stop him in America. People don't realise that. You know, when he won that Tam O'Shanter tournament, he couldn't play all the exhibitions that they wanted him to go to because of his international obligations. And so they said, "Okay, well, you can't play here." But he was an amazing golfer. That big old hook. I can see him now, master.
Roberto De Vicenza.
Roberto won a delight, and he always used to call me boy. And when I won the Open, he said, boy, I'm glad I'm no you. I said, what are you talking about? He said, now you have to be like the boxer, like this. He says, you do this, somebody punch you on the nose, he said. And I learned exactly what he meant. And then I won the US Open a year later. He said, boy, now just be nice to people, you make millions of dollars. He always had these Wise. I played with him in Augusta in about 72 when I was really playing well. And he could see I ended up shooting 1 under or a par or something. We came off the 18th and he said, "Boy, you can't win before you play." Such wise words all the time, and he was always spot on. What a gem of a guy, and I love him.
Sam Steed?
Sam, I got to know very well. Tough, very tough, and had it tough in his early life, and he was a tough hombre. I like Sam and a wonderful swing. He was one of the guys when it came to tempo and rhythm that I always had in here. I could close my eyes and see that wonderful tempo that Sam had. Great character, and I felt better for knowing him, I must say.
Gary player?
Probably, I think one of maybe the most remarkable man I've ever met. To be able to have achieved what he did in his life, with his stature amongst bigger, stronger men, traveling the amount of miles he's done to get it done, the things he had to do to get it done, facing all the stuff he had to face.
Bobby Cole?
Bobby Cole, unfortunate not to, should have won the Open at Carnoustie when he finished 5-5, the year of the playoff, I think. Enormous talent early on. I mean, our lives, I see Bobby occasionally now, but when he was 18, he had a most wonderful swing, and I'm loath to say underachiever. I don't know quite, you never know what's in anybody's mind, but as a player, a golf swing, he had it all. It really was. He was fantastic to watch, and we played a lot of golf together. Bobby and I did, especially when we first came to America. Travelled a bit and were great pals. I always I've got a soft spot for Bobby Cole. He's a great guy, but certainly never achieved what he should have playing golf, in my opinion.